Imagine sitting across from your own parents at dinner, their laughter echoing like nails on a chalkboard as they mock you, calling you their broken ATM. They've just stolen $63,000 using your name, and they're sneering that you'll come crawling back, begging for mercy. But what they don't know is that outside, my lawyer is waiting with a police report that's about to turn their world upside down and leave them homeless. If you've ever been betrayed by the people who should protect you most and dreamed of that perfect moment of justice, smash that subscribe button right now, like this video to show your support for stories where the underdog fights back, and drop a comment below with your own tale of sweet revenge. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. Let's dive straight into the heart of the storm. My name is Elara Voss, and for as long as I can remember, my parents treated me like an afterthought, a convenient tool rather than a daughter. Growing up in a quiet suburb outside London, our house was always filled with the sharp scent of my mother's overcooked roasts and my father's perpetual cloud of cigarette smoke. They weren't outright monsters, at least not at first glance. Dad worked odd jobs as a mechanic, always grumbling about how the world owed him more, while Mum handled the books for a small accounting firm, her fingers stained yellow from endless cups of tea and late-night number crunching. But beneath that facade of normalcy lurked a selfishness that festered like an untreated wound. It started small. When I was 16, they borrowed money from my savings account, the one I'd built from babysitting gigs and birthday gifts to cover Dad's gambling debts. "It's family money, Elara," Mum would say with a tight smile, her eyes never quite meeting mine. "We'll pay it back." They never did. By the time I turned 18 and moved out to attend university in Manchester, studying graphic design on a shoestring scholarship, I thought I'd escape their grasp. I worked a part-time jobs waitressing at a dingy cafe and freelancing logos for local businesses just to keep my head above water. My flat was tiny, the walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' arguments, but it was mine. For the first time, I felt the weight lifting off my chest, like I could finally at a price I didn't see coming. One rainy afternoon in late autumn, I checked my post and found a stack of letters that made my stomach drop. Credit card statements, loan approvals, overdue notices, all in my name. My hands trembled as I tore them open, the paper crinkling under my fingers like accusations. $63,000. That couldn't be right. My heart raced, a cold sweat breaking out on my skin as I pieced it together. They'd used my personal details, my national insurance number, my old address to take out loans, rack up credit cards, even finance a new car. The betrayal hit me like a punch to the gut. These weren't strangers. These were the people who'd raised me, who'd tucked me in at night and promised to always have my back. I confronted them over the phone that evening, my voice shaking with a mix of fury and disbelief. "How could you do this? This is my life you're ruining." Dad chuckled, that low, dismissive rumble that always made me feel small. "Oh, come on, Elara, it's not like you're using that credit anyway. We're family, we share everything." Mum jumped in, her tone sharp and unapologetic. "You'll thank us one day. Besides, what's a little debt between parents and child?" I hung up, tears stinging my eyes, feeling utterly powerless. That night, I lay awake in my lumpy bed, staring at the ceiling cracks that spider-webbed like my fractured trust. Thoughts swirled in my head. How dare they? After everything I'd sacrificed to break free, they were dragging me back into their mess. The anger built slowly, a simmering fire in my chest, but it was mixed with a deep hurt, the kind that comes from realizing your own blood sees you as nothing more than a resource to exploit. For weeks I spiraled. My credit score tanked. Job applications got rejected because of the red flags on my report, and bill collectors started calling at all hours, their voices mechanical and relentless. I skipped meals to save pennies, my reflection in the mirror growing gaunt and hollow-eyed. Friends noticed, but I was too ashamed to admit the truth that my parents had turned me into their personal piggy bank. Inside, a voice whispered, "This isn't fair. You don't deserve this." It was that voice that pushed me to act. I scraped together what little savings I had left and hired a solicitor named Mr. Hargrove, a no-nonsense man with wire-rimmed glasses and a reputation for taking on identity theft cases pro bono when the victims were young and desperate like me. Mr. Hargrove dove in with the precision of a surgeon. We gathered evidence, bank statements, forged signatures that didn't match mine, even emails between my parents bragging about their clever workaround to friends. It turned out they'd been living large on my stolen credit, fancy dinners, a holiday to Spain, upgrades to their home that I'd never seen. The more we uncovered, the tighter my jaw clenched. "This is fraud, plain and simple," he told me over coffee in his cluttered office, the aroma of stale biscuits hanging in the air. "We can press charges, freeze their assets, even force the sale of their house, if the debt's traced back." There, his words ignited a spark of hope, but also a steely resolve. This wasn't just about money, it was about reclaiming my dignity, proving I wasn't the useless daughter they implied. I decided to play it smart. No more heated phone calls. Instead, I accepted their invitation to dinner, feigning reconciliation. "Let's put this behind us," I texted, my fingers hovering over the send button as doubt gnawed at me. but I pushed through knowing what was coming. The drive back to their house felt endless, rain pattering against the windshield like nervous drum beats. My mind raced with scenarios. What if they saw through me? What if I chickened out? Pulling up to the familiar driveway, I took a deep breath, the cool evening air filling my lungs, steadying me. Inside, the table was set with Mum's best china, but the atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension. Dad poured wine with a smug grin, his cheeks flushed. "Glad you came to your senses, love," he said, clinking glasses. Mum nodded, her lips pursed in that familiar judgmental way. As we ate overdone roast beef that stuck in my throat, they started in. "You know, Elara, life's tough out there," Dad said, leaning back in his chair with a laugh that grayed like sandpaper. "We did what we had to. Think of us as your safety net," Mum chimed in, her voice dripping with condescension. "Exactly. You're like our little broken ATM always. There when we need a withdrawal." They both erupted in laughter, the sound bouncing off the walls, making my skin crawl. Dad wiped a tear from his eye. "And don't worry. You'll be begging to come back home soon enough. The real world will chew you up and spit you out." Their words landed like blows, each one fueling the fire inside me. My hands clenched under the table, nails digging into my palms, but I forced a weak smile, my heart pounding. In my mind, I screamed, "How could you laugh at this?" At me, but outwardly, I stayed calm, biding my time. As dessert arrived, stale pudding that tasted like ash, I glanced at my phone under the table. A text from Mr. Hargrove, "Ready when you are." That was my cue. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the floor, with a sharp screech that cut through their chuckles. "Actually," I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through me, "I won't be begging for anything." Their smiles faltered, confusion flickering in their eyes. "What are you on about?" Dad barked, setting down his fork with a clatter. I walked to the door, my footsteps deliberate, each one echoing my growing empowerment. Opening it, I revealed Mr. Hargrove standing on the porch, flanked by 2 police officers, their badges glinting under the streetlight. Rain had started again, a soft drizzle that matched the storm brewing. "This is my solicitor," I announced, my tone laced with the satisfaction I'd bottled up for months. "And these officers have a report detailing every bit of fraud you've committed in my name." The color drained from their faces, Mum's hand flying to her mouth with a gasp that sounded like a deflating balloon. Dad stammered, rising unsteadily, "Elara, this is ridiculous. We're family." But his bluster crumbled as Mr. Hargrove stepped forward, handing them the papers, thick stacks outlining the charges: identity theft, fraud, embezzlement. "The loans are in her name, but the assets you've purchased, they'll be seized to cover the debts," he explained coolly, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife, "including this house. You'll have 30 days to vacate." Mum collapsed back into her chair, sobbing now, her makeup streaking like black rivers down her cheeks. "How could you do this to us?" she wailed, but her words rang hollow. Dad paced, muttering curses, his earlier laughter replaced by a pathetic whine. "You'll regret this, girl. You'll come crawling back." But I met his gaze, unflinching, feeling a wave of liberation wash over me. For the first time, I saw them not as towering figures of authority but as small, desperate people who'd built their lives on lies. As the officers escorted them to explain the next steps, I stood in the doorway, the rain misting my face like a cleansing baptism. The weight that had crushed me for so long lifted, replaced by a quiet peace. Justice wasn't just served, it was reclaimed piece by piece. Looking back, this wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake, it was about boundaries, about teaching that betrayal has consequences. In a world where family ties can sometimes bind too tightly, sometimes you have to cut them to truly be free. It's a reminder that no one is entitled to your future, no matter their relation. If this story hit home, if you've ever turned the tables on those who underestimated you, give it a like and subscribe. For more tales of epic comeuppance, drop a comment. What's the most satisfying act of justice you've experienced or witnessed? Share this video with someone who needs a dose of inspiration, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong out there.